My boyfriend secretly got leg lengthening surgery, leaving me to care for him while he recovers. Now he's planning more surgeries. Should I stay and support him or move on? I've been dating my boyfriend for over a year after we met through a dating app. One Tuesday night, he calls me and asks if I want to go to a city an hour away. I think he's planning a romantic getaway, so I say yes. Then he tells me he's going to live there for 3 months. I ask why, thinking it might be for work, but he says he's getting leg lengthening surgery, and the surgery is the next day. I'm stunned. He's never mentioned this to me before. For context, I'm 5'0" and he's around 5'7". I never thought he was short. When I asked why he felt the need to get such a risky cosmetic procedure, he said he didn't feel good being shorter than his younger brother and that I wouldn't understand. The surgery is intense. They break the femurs, place rods and screws, and eventually extend the legs. He's also planning to get his tibia's lower legs broken after a year of healing the upper legs, which will add a few more inches. After both surgeries, he expects to be around 5'11". The recovery will take 2 to 3 years. I asked if he researched this, and he said the best surgeon in the world performs these surgeries an hour away, so he'll be staying there for monitoring. Since it's an elective cosmetic procedure, insurance doesn't cover any of it. Including the $10,000 initial consultation, the total cost is about $300,000. I'm fine with how he spends his money since it's his, but it hurt that he never discussed it with me. It's such a big decision. What if he makes another decision like this when we're married? Going through with the surgery means I have to travel back and forth to see him. I can't drive long distances due to health reasons, so I take the train every weekend and manage my work at the same time. When I asked why he didn't tell me before, he said he was worried I'd leave him. He got the surgery the next day and it's been over a month. I've been his only source of support because he hasn't told his family. He thinks they wouldn't approve and would worry. Every weekend I take the train to see him. When I'm there, I'm basically his caretaker doing his laundry, bringing him necessities, helping him get around. He gets upset when I don't stay as long as he wants and wants me to come more often. I don't mind taking care of him because I do care about him, but we haven't been able to do couple activities due to him being bedridden. I don't like that I didn't have a say in this decision that affects our relationship. Despite everything, he's treated me better in the past month than ever before. I'm worried we'll go back to how things were before the surgery once he recovers. I told him I don't want to go back to the old ways, and he had no comment. Update 1. For those concerned about the financial implications, he paid for the surgery upfront and has the funds and career to avoid that. Update 2. I understand the stuffed animals are getting a lot of hate. Obviously, there are other things I enjoy about him, like our experiences together, activities, and our intimate life, but all that's been limited due to recent events, so the stuffed animals are filling that emotional gap. Story 2. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 2 years. I'm 19 and he's 20. I should mention that I'm fairly tall. I'm about 5 feet 11, which is taller than average, but not extremely so. I've struggled with my height in the past and used to dislike it a lot when I was younger, but I've mostly come to terms with it now. My parents are both tall, so it's just how I ended up. Recently, I've noticed that my boyfriend keeps making comments about my height. It started to bother me more when I was talking to him about my knees hurting. I do a lot of sports, and I'm hoping to make a career out of it, but it can be hard on my knees. One day, I was rubbing my knees because they were sore, and my boyfriend asked what I was doing. When I told him, he joked that if I wasn't such a giraffe, my knees wouldn't hurt. He said it in a playful way, but it stung a bit. I asked him if he could stop calling me that because it makes me uncomfortable, but he just said it was a joke and moved on. Another time, we were getting ready to go out, and I was going to wear a pair of heels that I really love. My dad bought them for me, and they're very special to me. But my boyfriend told me I shouldn't wear them because they'd make me stand out too much and look weird. That comment really hurt because I feel good in those shoes and I didn't want to feel self-conscious about wearing them. Thinking back, I realized he's made a lot of comments like this. He often jokes about my height, and every time, it makes me feel a bit worse about myself. I've tried to explain to him why these comments hurt me, but he doesn't seem to get it. Maybe it's because guys often like being tall and don't understand why a girl might feel different about it. I feel like society tends to view tall women as odd, and I've even had people ask if I'm a lesbian just because of my height. It's all very confusing and frustrating. I just wish he could understand that these comments hurt my feelings. I want him to see that joking about my height isn't funny to me, and that it brings back all the insecurities I've worked so hard to move past. But for some reason, he just doesn't get it, and I don't know how to make him understand. Story 3. I broke up with my boyfriend of 6 years, and his mom wanted to know why. Here's how that conversation changed everything. It was a Tuesday evening when I decided to end things with my boyfriend of 6 years. We had been through so much together, and for the most part, it had been wonderful. We were high school sweethearts, and after graduation, we moved to a new city together so he could pursue his dream job. I, on the other hand, sacrificed a lot to make our relationship work. I spent thousands of dollars on a visa to move to his country, turned down my dream job to be with him, and made countless other sacrifices. Over the past year, I began to realize that I had lost myself in our relationship. I was living my life for him, not for me. It was a tough decision to make, but I knew it was the right one. I didn't want to wake up one day filled with regret for not having lived my life on my terms. So I broke the news to him. He was devastated, as was I. But deep down, I knew it was the best thing for both of us. A few weeks passed, and I was slowly starting to find my footing again. I had just started a new job and was beginning to make plans for my future. Then, out of the blue, I received a message from his mom. She expressed how shocked they were about our breakup and asked to meet with me in person. She wanted to hear my side of the story and understand why I broke up with her son. She also asked me not to tell him about it, as she didn't want him to think she was meddling. At first, I was taken aback. It felt intrusive and inappropriate for her to ask me to defend my decision. After all, we were both adults, and my reasons for ending the relationship were personal. I felt uncomfortable with the idea of having to justify myself to his parents. But then I thought about it some more. Maybe they deserve some closure too. Maybe explaining things to them would help them understand and move on. I shared the message with a few friends, and they all encouraged me to meet with his parents. They thought it was sweet that she cared enough to reach out. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that it was wrong. I decided to sleep on it and make a decision in the morning. The next day, I replied to his mom, agreeing to meet up with them. We arranged to meet at a quiet cafe halfway between our locations. As the day of the meeting approached, I grew more and more anxious. I wasn't sure what to expect or how to explain my reasons without making it seem like their son was to blame. The day of the meeting arrived, and I arrived at the cafe a bit early. I found a table in a quiet corner and waited for them. They arrived a few minutes later, looking worried and concerned. We exchanged pleasantries and ordered coffee, but it was clear that they were eager to get to the heart of the matter. His mom started by saying that they had been completely blindsided by the breakup. She said their son hadn't given them many details, and they were struggling to understand what had happened. I took a deep breath and began to explain. I told them about the sacrifices I had made over the years and how I had gradually lost sight of my own dreams and aspirations. I explained that I needed to make a change for my own sake and that ending the relationship was the hardest but the best decision for me. They listened intently, nodding occasionally. When I finished, there was a moment of silence. Then his mom spoke. She said she understood and that she appreciated my honesty. She admitted that they had always seen me as a part of their family and that they were sad to see me go. But she also said that they respected my decision and wished me the best. We talked a bit more about the past and our shared memories. It was a bittersweet conversation, but I felt a sense of relief. By the time we parted ways, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I had given them the closure they needed, and in doing so, I found some closure for myself as well. After the meeting, I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in a long time. I realized that by explaining my side of the story, I had not only helped his parents understand, but also allowed myself to process the breakup more fully. It was a cathartic experience, and it helped me move forward. I focused on my new job and started making plans for my future. I reconnected with old friends and began to pursue hobbies that I had put on hold for so long. It wasn't easy, but I was slowly rediscovering who I was and what I wanted from life. My ex's parents reached out to me a few more times just to check in and see how I was doing. They were always kind and supportive, and I appreciated their efforts to stay in touch. It wasn't the same as before, but it was a new kind of relationship, one that was built on mutual respect and understanding. As time went on, I found myself thinking less and less about the breakup. I was excited about the future and the possibilities it held. I knew there would be challenges ahead, but I also knew that I was strong enough to face them. Looking back, I realized that the decision to end the relationship had been the right one. It had allowed me to reclaim my life and start living for myself. And while it had been a difficult journey, it was one that I was grateful for. I had grown and learned so much about myself, and I knew that I was on the right path. Life had a way of surprising me, and I was ready for whatever came next. The future was uncertain, but it was also full of promise and potential. And that was something to be excited about. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more news stories. Please comment and tell me if this voice is good or not.